Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive. It's all about sleep, and you guys sent over some really interesting stuff. I'm particularly fascinated by some excerpts from Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep.
It's a great book.
Yeah, it really is, and it's got me thinking about how much we take sleep for granted,
Yeah.
In our busy modern lives, we often treat sleep like it's optional, like we can just cut back on it when we need to.
Right. Sleep is often seen as something we can sacrifice when deadlines loom or our schedules get packed.
But Walker makes a pretty powerful point right at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
He calls sleep the single most effective thing we can do to reset our brain and body health each day.
It's such a simple statement, but it really highlights how fundamental sleep is for our well-being.
And he even goes on to compare sleep to Mother Nature's best effort yet at contra death.
It's a striking comparison, but it makes you think about sleep in a whole new way.
Yeah, it's not just about resting our bodies. It's about actively rejuvenating and repairing ourselves.
It's essential for our survival.
Okay, so we've established that sleep is crucial. But what's actually going on in our bodies when we sleep? What controls those sleep-wake cycles? The ones that tell us when it's time to wind down and when it's time to wake up.
Well, our internal clock plays a key role here. It's also known as the circadian rhythm.
Right, the circadian rhythm. I remember learning about that in school, but can you remind me how it works?
Of course. Imagine it like this. There's a clock inside your brain that's constantly running. It synchronizes your body's processes with the 24-hour day-night cycle.
Like a built-in timekeeper.
Exactly, and this internal clock receives signals from your eyes, letting it know when it's daytime and when it's nighttime. This helps to regulate a variety of bodily functions, including our sleep-wake cycles.
So even without sunlight, our bodies still have a sense of time.
Precisely, one of the earliest clues about this internal clock actually came from a fascinating experiment back in 1729.
Oh, wow. That's way before we had all the fancy technology we have today.
I know, right? A French geophysicist named Jean-Jacques Dortu de Maran was studying the Mimosa pudica plant.
The Mimosa pudica plant. What's special about that?
It's also known as the sleeping leaves plant because its leaves follow the sun during the day and then fold down at night.
So it has a sleep schedule, too. Interesting.
Right. Well, he decided to place this plant in constant darkness to see what would happen.
So he basically stopped time for the plant.
Exactly. And to his surprise, the leaves continued their rhythmic opening and closing even without sunlight.
Wow. So the plant had its own internal clock, independent of external cues.
Precisely. And in humans, this clock resides in a small region of the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN for short.
Okay, the SCN, it's like the command center for our sleep-wake cycle.
Exactly. It receives those light signals from the eyes and then uses that information to regulate when we feel sleepy and when we feel alert.
This brings up something I've always wondered about.
Hmm.
Why are some people morning larks while others are night owls?
Right.
Is it just personal preference, or is there something more to it?
It might feel like a preference, but our chronotype, whether we're a lark or an owl, is actually rooted in our DNA.
Wow. So it's not just a matter of choice. It's programmed into our biology.
Exactly. It's like our internal clock is set to a slightly different time zone depending on our genes.
So those who struggle to wake up early aren't just being lazy. Their bodies are actually wired to operate on a later schedule.
Precisely. Which is why it's important to understand and respect our individual chronotypes.
Makes sense, especially in a society that often favors early schedules.
Right. Forcing night owls into early routines can lead to chronic sleep deprivation.
And we know that chronic sleep deprivation can have all sorts of negative consequences for our health.
Absolutely. It's been linked to a higher risk of depression, anxiety, and even chronic diseases like diabetes and heart disease.
It's not just a matter of feeling tired. It can have serious implications for our overall well-being.
Exactly. Sleep is not something to be trifled with.
Now, we've talked about our internal clock as one factor that regulates sleep. What's the other key player?
That would be adenosine buildup.
Adenosine buildup. Okay, I'm not familiar with that one.
So as we go about our day, adenosine accumulates in our brain.
It's like a sleep pressure gauge that's gradually filling up.
Exactly. The longer we're awake, the more adenosine builds up, and the stronger the pressure to sleep becomes.
And then when we finally do get some sleep,
A good night's sleep allows our brain to clear out all that accumulated adenosine, essentially resetting the sleep pressure gauge for the next day.
that explains why we feel so refreshed after a full night's sleep.
Precisely. It's like hitting the reset button on our sleep system.
But what actually happens when we fall asleep?
That's where things get really interesting.
I know there are different stages of sleep, but I'm always a bit fuzzy on the details.
Don't worry, I'll walk you through it. So there are 4 distinct stages of sleep that we cycle throughout the night.
So we don't just fall asleep and stay in one state the whole time.
Not at all. It's more like a journey with different stops along the way.
A sleep journey. I like that. So tell me about these stages.
All right, so the first three stages are known as non-rapid eye movement sleep or NREM sleep.
NREM sleep. Okay. And what happens during these stages?
Well, the first stage is like a light transitional sleep. It's easy to be woken up during this stage.
Kind of like that drowsy feeling you get right before you actually fall asleep.
Exactly. Then in stage 2, your brain waves slow down further, and we start to see these bursts of brain activity called sleep spindles.
Sleep spindles. What are those?
They're thought to be important for memory consolidation.
So even in these lighter stages, our brains are still busy at work.
That's right. And we also see K complexes in stage 2, which are large, slow brain waves that might help block out external stimuli and keep you asleep.
Like a sleep bodyguard.
Exactly. Then we move into stage 3, which is the deepest stage of NREM sleep.
Deep sleep. This is where we get the real restorative benefits, right?
You got it. This is where your blood pressure drops, your breathing slows, and your muscles are deeply relaxed.
It's like giving your body a chance to recharge and repair itself.
Precisely.
Okay, so NREM sleep seems to be all about physical recovery. What about the fourth stage, REM sleep? Isn't that the stage where dreaming happens?
Oh, yes. REM sleep. This is where things get really fascinating.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So during REM sleep, your brain activity actually ramps up almost as if you're awake. Your eyes move rapidly beneath your eyelids, hence the name rapid eye movement sleep.
I've always wondered about that rapid eye movement. What's the purpose of it?
We're not entirely sure, but it's thought to be related to the vivid dreams we often experience during this stage.
Makes sense. But here's something I find strange. You said our brain activity increases during REM sleep, but our bodies are essentially paralyzed.
You're right, it's a paradox. An active brain in a paralyzed body.
Why is that?
It's thought to be a protective mechanism to prevent us from acting out our dreams.
Oh, that makes sense. Imagine if we were physically moving around while dreaming. Things could get pretty chaotic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So our bodies essentially go into lockdown mode during REM sleep, keeping us safe while our minds are free to wander.
Wow, REM sleep is full of surprises.
It certainly is. It's a fascinating and complex stage of sleep that's still not fully understood.
But it's clear that it plays a vital role in our overall well-being.
Absolutely. Both NREM and REM sleep are essential for our physical and mental health.
So we need a good balance of both to function at our best.
Exactly. Think of it like a delicious meal. You need all the different food groups to create a balanced and nutritious diet. Sleep is no different.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Now let's dive deeper into this intriguing stage of REM sleep, the realm of dreams.
Yeah, dreams definitely add another layer of mystery to REM sleep. I mean, why do we dream anyway?
That's a question that has puzzled scientists and philosophers for centuries.
Right. We're still not entirely sure why we dream, but there are some interesting theories out there.
Like what?
Well, one theory is that REM sleep is essential for cardiovascular health. During this stage, our heart rate and blood pressure fluctuate, which might actually be like a workout for our heart.
So it's like our heart is doing cardio while we sleep.
Exactly. It's getting a workout without us even having to lift a finger. And this might help to keep our cardiovascular system in good shape.
That makes sense. What are some of the other theories?
Another prominent theory suggests that REM sleep plays a key role in processing and regulating our emotions.
Well, that's interesting. So it's like our brains are working through the emotional events of the day while we sleep.
Exactly. During REM sleep, our brains are busy sorting through our experiences, making sense of them, and helping us to regulate our emotional responses.
That makes sense. I know that I often feel more emotionally balanced after a good night's sleep.
Exactly. It's like REM sleep is giving our emotional systems a chance to catch up and reset.
What about the role of REM sleep in memory and learning? I know there's been a lot of research on that.
You're right. REM sleep is thought to be crucial for consolidating memories and integrating new information into our existing knowledge networks.
So it's not just about physical restoration. REM sleep is also essential for our cognitive function.
Absolutely. It's like our brains are taking all the information we've encountered during the day and filing it away in the appropriate folders.
So it's like a mental decluttering process happening while we sleep.
Exactly. And some researchers even believe that REM sleep might play a role in boosting creativity and problem solving.
Really? So our dreams could be a source of inspiration.
It's possible. There have been studies showing that people are more likely to have those aha moments or creative breakthroughs after a good night's sleep, particularly one that includes plenty of REM sleep.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what amazing ideas are lurking in our dreams just waiting to be unlocked.
It certainly does. The world of dreams is still largely unexplored, but it holds so much potential for understanding how our minds work.
This all makes me wonder,
Mm.
do other species dream?
It's a great question, and one that scientists are still trying to answer definitively.
We know that not all species experience REM sleep, right?
That's right. So it's possible that dreaming is more common in animals that also experience REM sleep.
I've seen my dog twitching and whimpering in his sleep. It makes me think he might be chasing squirrels in his dreams.
It's certainly possible. While we can't ask animals directly about their dreams, we can observe their brain activity and behavior during sleep.
And what have those observations shown?
There's evidence to suggest that some mammals, particularly those that exhibit REM sleep, show similar brain activity patterns and muscle twitches during this stage that might indicate dreaming.
So it's possible that our furry friends are having their own adventures in the dream world.
It's certainly a possibility, and it opens up a whole new realm of questions about the nature of consciousness and the role of dreaming in the animal kingdom.
It's mind-boggling to think about. Now, we've talked a lot about the importance of both NREM and REM sleep. Have you ever wondered which type of sleep is more important?
It's a question that scientists have grappled with for a long time. The answer is that both types of sleep are essential for our overall health and well-being.
It's like asking which is more important, inhaling or exhaling.
Exactly. We need both to survive and thrive.
But I'm curious what happens when we're sleep deprived. Does our body try to make up for the lost sleep by prioritizing one type over the other?
That's a great question. And the answer is yes. When we're sleep deprived, our body tries to recover both types of sleep, indicating that both NREM and REM sleep play distinct yet essential roles.
So it's not like we can skimp on one and be okay as long as we get enough of the other.
Unfortunately, no. Sleep is not like a bank where you can deposit extra hours to make up for a withdrawal.
So there's no such thing as catching up on sleep.
Sadly, no. Lost sleep can never be fully repaid regardless of how much we try to recover.
That's a sobering thought. It makes you realize how important it is to consistently prioritize a full night's sleep.
Exactly. It's an ongoing investment in our health, not a debt we can pay off later. And this consistent need for sleep continues throughout our lives, although the patterns and proportions of NREM and REM sleep change as we age.
Well, that's interesting. I didn't realize that sleep changes as we get older. Tell me more about that.
Well, the journey of sleep actually begins in the womb.
In the womb. So babies are sleeping even before they're born.
That's right. And they spend a remarkable amount of time in REM sleep, suggesting its crucial role in brain development.
Wow. So even before we enter the world, our brains are already hard at work, laying the foundation for our cognitive abilities.
Exactly. It's like REM sleep is providing the building blocks for our future selves.
What about infancy and childhood? How does sleep evolve during those stages?
As infants grow, they still have a high proportion of REM sleep, but we start to see a shift towards more deep NREM sleep as they develop.
And what about the teenage years? We know that the brain undergoes significant changes during adolescence. Is there a connection between sleep and this period of brain development?
Absolutely. Adolescence is a time of rapid brain development marked by a surge in deep NREM sleep.
So teenagers need even more sleep than younger children.
In a way, yes. Their brains are working overtime to make sense of the world and all the changes they're going through.
And deep sleep provides the optimal environment for this development to occur.
Exactly. It's like their brains are being sculpted and refined during those crucial teenage years.
That makes sense. Teenagers are going through so much, both physically and mentally.
It's a critical period for brain development, and deep sleep is essential for supporting that transition. Then, as we reach adulthood, the proportion of deep sleep starts to decline, and this decline continues as we age.
Is this decline in deep sleep just a natural part of aging, or is there something we can do to slow it down?
It's a combination of factors. Aging itself does lead to changes in our sleep patterns, but lifestyle choices and health conditions can also play a role.
So it's not entirely out of our control.
Exactly. There are things we can do to promote healthy sleep throughout our lives, but it's important to understand the challenges that older adults often face.
Like what?
Well, as we age, we tend to experience shorter sleep duration, more fragmented sleep, and a decrease in both the quantity and quality of deep sleep.
So it's not just about getting enough sleep, it's also about the type of sleep we're getting.
Exactly. The decline in deep sleep is particularly concerning because it's linked to cognitive decline, memory problems, and an increased risk of various health issues.
So maintaining healthy sleep habits becomes even more crucial as we age.
Absolutely. We can't stop the aging process, but we can certainly take steps to protect our sleep health.
This brings us to a really important question. What's the connection between sleep and our overall health? We've talked about the importance of sleep for various bodily functions, but I'd love to dive deeper into that relationship.
It's a fascinating area of research. As we're learning more about the science of sleep, we're realizing that sleep is intricately woven into every aspect of our physical and mental well-being.
It's not just about feeling rested. It's truly fundamental to our health.
Exactly.
Let's start by talking about the relationship between sleep and mental health.
One of the most striking discoveries in recent years is the profound link between sleep and mental health conditions. In fact, there is no major psychiatric condition in which sleep is normal.
Wow. So sleep problems are a common thread in mental illness.
Yes, we see sleep disturbances across the spectrum of mental health conditions, from depression and anxiety to PTSD, schizophrenia, and bipolar disorder.
So it's not just that mental illness disrupts sleep, but poor sleep can actually worsen mental health conditions as well.
Exactly. It's a two-way street.
That's a significant shift in understanding. Can you
Yeah.
give us some specific examples of this bidirectional relationship?
Sure, let's take depression, for instance. Interestingly, sleep deprivation can actually have a temporary antidepressant effect in some individuals.
Wait, really? That sounds counterintuitive.
Hmm.
Wouldn't sleep deprivation make depression worse?
You'd think so, right? But research has shown that in about one-third of people with depression, a night of sleep deprivation can lead to a significant mood boost.
That's fascinating. Why would that be?
It's thought to be related to the impact of sleep deprivation on reward circuits in the brain, which can temporarily counteract the anhedonia or lack of pleasure often seen in depression.
So in some cases, manipulating sleep can actually be therapeutic.
It's a promising area of research, although more work needs to be done to understand the long-term effects.
It really highlights how complex the relationship between sleep and mental health is.
It certainly does. And it's not just depression. Sleep disturbances are a hallmark of many other mental health conditions as well. Well, people with anxiety disorders, for example, often have difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep due to racing thoughts and heightened arousal.
Makes sense. Their minds are in overdrive, making it hard to relax and drift off.
Exactly. And in PTSD, nightmares and flashbacks during sleep can be particularly debilitating.
It sounds like sleep can be a window into the inner workings of our minds, reflecting both our emotional and cognitive states.
That's a great way to put it. Sleep is not just a passive state. It's an active process that's intricately connected to our mental and emotional well-being.
This has been so insightful. We've covered a lot of ground, from the biological clocks that govern our sleep-wake cycles to the fascinating stages of sleep and the crucial role of both NREM and REM sleep. We've also explored the complex relationship between sleep and mental health. But I think our listeners are probably wondering what happens when this essential need for sleep is consistently neglected. What are the consequences of sleep deprivation on our physical health?
That's a crucial question, and one that we need to address head-on. Sleep deprivation is a pervasive issue in our society, and its consequences extend far beyond just feeling tired.
It's like we're slowly chipping away at our health by not getting enough sleep.
That's a good analogy. And the more we learn about sleep deprivation, the more we realize just how detrimental it can be for nearly every system in our bodies.
It's scary to think about all the ways that sleep deprivation can sabotage our health and well-being.
It really is. It's like we're constantly running on fumes, and eventually something's got to give.
Exactly. And the worst part is that many people don't even realize they're sleep deprived.
That's right. They just accept feeling tired and sluggish as a normal part of life.
So how do we break free from this cycle of sleep deprivation? What can we actually do to improve our sleep?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the good news is there are many practical steps we can take to prioritize sleep and enhance our sleep quality.
Okay, I'm all ears. Give me the secrets to a good night's sleep.
Well, first and foremost, we need to recognize that sleep is not a luxury, it's a necessity.
Right. It's not something we can just squeeze in when we have time.
Exactly. It's as essential for our health as eating a balanced diet and exercising regularly.
It's time to stop glorifying the hustle culture and start embracing the power of rest.
Absolutely. We need to shift our mindset and view sleep as a fundamental pillar of health and well-being.
So how do we start making that shift? What are some practical tips for improving our sleep?
One of the simplest yet most effective things you can do is create a consistent sleep schedule.
You mean going to bed and waking up at the same time every day?
Precisely, even on weekends. This helps to regulate your body's natural sleep-wake cycle.
I know that makes sense, but I struggle with that, especially on weekends. I tend to stay up late and sleep in.
I understand it's tempting to break the routine on weekends, but even small variations in your sleep schedule can disrupt your circadian rhythm and make it harder to fall asleep and wake up feeling refreshed.
Okay, point taken. Consistency is key. But what about those nights when your mind is racing and you just can't seem to fall asleep? Do you have any tips for those moments?
Absolutely. Creating a conducive sleep environment can make a world of difference. Make sure your bedroom is dark, quiet, and cool.
Dark, quiet, cool. Got it. Is there an ideal temperature for sleep?
Most people sleep best in a slightly cool environment around 65 degrees Fahrenheit.
That makes sense. Our body temperature naturally drops as we fall asleep, and a cool room can help facilitate that process.
Exactly. Think of it like creating a cozy little sleep cave.
I like that image.
Ugh.
So cool room, darkness, and quiet can help set the stage for a good night's sleep. What else can we do to prepare for sleep?
Pay attention to your pre-sleep routine. What do you do in the hour or two before bed?
Let's see, I usually check my email, scroll through social media, maybe watch a bit of TV. Why?
Well, all those activities involve screens, and the blue light emitted from electronic devices can interfere with your sleep.
Right, I've heard about that blue light. How does it affect our sleep?
Blue light suppresses melatonin production, which is a hormone that helps regulate our sleep-wake cycle.
So using electronic devices before bed is like telling our brains to stay awake.
Exactly. It's like sending mixed signals to your body. You're trying to wind down, but your brain is being bombarded with stimulating blue light.
So what's the solution? Should we all just ditch our devices?
It's not always practical to completely avoid screens, but you can minimize their impact by limiting screen time in the hours leading up to bed.
So no more late night Netflix binges.
Ideally not. Instead, try engaging in relaxing activities that don't involve screens.
Like what?
Reading a book, taking a warm bath, listening to calming music, practicing relaxation techniques like deep breathing or meditation.
Creating a relaxing bedtime routine sounds like a great strategy. Now what about exercise? Does being physically active help or hinder sleep?
Regular exercise is definitely beneficial for sleep, but the timing of your workouts is important.
Oh, so there's a right and a wrong time to exercise when it comes to sleep.
In a way, yes. Exercising too close to bedtime can actually make it harder to fall asleep because it raises your body temperature and increases your alertness levels.
So it's best to avoid those late night gym sessions.
Exactly. If you want to optimize your sleep, aim to finish your workouts at least a few hours before you plan to go to bed.
Okay, that makes sense. These are all great practical tips. But what about people who are struggling with more serious sleep problems, like insomnia?
If you're experiencing chronic insomnia, it's essential to seek professional help. A sleep specialist can help identify any underlying medical conditions that might be contributing to your sleep difficulties.
So ruling out any medical causes is the first step.
Exactly. And if no underlying medical conditions are found, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, or CBTI, is a highly effective treatment option.
The CBT, I've heard of that, but I'm not really sure what it involves.
It's a type of therapy that focuses on the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that contribute to insomnia. It helps people identify and change negative thought patterns and behaviors that are interfering with their sleep.
So it's not about taking a pill, it's about retraining your brain to sleep better.
Exactly. And one of the great things about CBTI is that it has long-lasting benefits, and it doesn't come with the side effects and risks of dependence that can be associated with sleeping pills.
So the more sustainable and holistic approach to treating insomnia.
Precisely.
Yeah.
In fact, the American College of Physicians recommends CBTI as the first-line treatment for chronic insomnia.
Wow, that's a strong endorsement. It sounds like CBTI is a real game changer for those who haven't found relief from other methods.
It certainly can be. It's a proven and effective treatment that can significantly improve sleep quality and overall well-being.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive into the world of sleep. I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too. It's been a fascinating journey.
We've explored the science of sleep, the consequences of sleep deprivation, the impact of technology, and most importantly, strategies for improving our sleep.
And hopefully we've inspired our listeners to start prioritizing their sleep health.
Absolutely. Remember, even small adjustments to our sleep habits can have a ripple effect on our overall health and well-being.
So start small, be consistent, and you'll be amazed by the transformative power of a good night's sleep.
That's a great reminder. Thanks for joining us on this sleep adventure.
It's been my pleasure. Sweet dreams, everyone.